All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Teacher Lady Show. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Teacher Lady Speaks. I'm Miss Erica, the Teacher Lady, your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. Now, every single week on the Teacher Lady Show, we have a new topic, and this week's topic is all about internet safety, digital citizenship, and cyberbullying. We want to make sure that our children are safe online, and of course, we're using picture books to be able to do so. Now, this week's featured read aloud is Mitzi and the Big Bad Nosy Wolf. On Monday, we had the Teacher Lady Reads, which is a read aloud on this story. And then on Wednesday, we had the Behind the Book review, where I let you know how you could use it as a resource so that children better understand online safety. And now today, Friday, we are wrapping up this topic with this episode of The Teacher Lady Speaks. Now, The Teacher Lady Speaks is a segment where I use my experience teaching tiny humans to help enhance your experience raising them, okay? Now, this is done through resources, insight, and honest reflection from a well-seasoned educator. Hey, that's me, who understands just how hard love work can be. So this is where I give you best practices and tips and tricks so that you can help them understand internet safety. You ready? Let's grow. Defining the topic for a child. So if I'm talking about internet safety with a child, I will want them to understand that just like there are rules off the internet in terms of keeping us safe, there are rules on the internet in terms of keeping us safe. We wouldn't walk up to a stranger and just give them our information. We wouldn't let anybody just take a picture of us outside. And the same is true online. Online, we want to be mindful with what we share, what we say, who we're in contact with, and we want to make sure that we are protected. And so I would just start off very, very simply. I would, however, emphasize that anything that is posted online, regardless of if you think the page is private or it's a private group chat, if you have put it on the internet, you need to make the assumption that the entire world can see it. And that is important for children to understand because we do live in this day and age where social media and TikTok and all of these kind of platforms, it feels like we're all friends with each other in some ways. It feels like you know the people you're posting to, and as you build a community, it's okay. But I don't think that we recognize that anybody, that means anybody in the world, the person you just walked past, the person you don't like or makes you uncomfortable, every single person can now see what it is that you posted, what you shared. Even if you delete it, even if you archive it, it actually never goes away. And so explaining that to children, not to scare them, but to get them to understand the importance of being mindful is going to be my first best practice. I'm already there, okay? Now, the other thing we will talk about later on in this episode is screen time and what's appropriate and not appropriate. But the goal of this show is to really make sure that however amount of time that child is on that phone or that computer, they have the insight to navigate it safely, okay? Now, every single week on the Teacher Lady Show, we compare two states and we look at their curriculum to see what it is that your child might be learning on the topic. We compare the state of Texas to the state of California. California explicitly requires instruction in digital citizenship through multiple frameworks. So under the California Health Education Content Standards, mental, emotional, and social health, grades K through 2 identify trusted adults and demonstrate safe behaviors. Grades 3 to 5, children should practice decision-making skills and refusal strategies in unsafe situations. And under the California Education Code 51890, which is media literacy and internet safety, this requires instruction on safe, responsible, and ethical use of online resources, including protecting personal information and responding to online risk. Under the ISTE standards for students, which was adopted by California districts, it is emphasized that children have digital responsibility, understand privacy, respectful communication, and safe technology beginning in elementary school. Okay. Now, in California, transformative social and emotional learning links digital safety to self-management, social awareness, and responsible decision making. So overall, there is some around internet safety. I definitely don't feel like our curriculum dives deep enough specifically into social media, the concerns around social media, the media influences on beauty standards. I feel like there's so much that is missing around the internet, especially with how popular it is now. You have 9-year-olds with social media accounts. And so for me, our curriculum comes up pretty light. But let's take a look at the state of Texas. So in Texas, Texas embeds digital citizenship and internet safety across technology applications for the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills and Health Education Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills frameworks. Okay. So under the technology applications for 126.6 to 126.7, students must learn to protect personal information, practice safe online behavior, and use digital tools responsibly. Students are explicitly taught to recognize unsafe online situations and seek adult help. Under the health education frameworks for grades 1 through 3, they are to identify safe and unsafe situations and demonstrate help-seeking behaviors. And then moving on to grades 4 through 5, children are to practice decision-making and refusal skills related to personal safety. So not specific to online, but just more so general personal safety. Now, under Texas Education Code 33.351, it is required that school districts provide instruction on internet safety, cyberbullying prevention, and digital responsibility. But, and there is a but, that requirement is very loose. So depending on who the educator is and how they share information is going to depend heavily on if it lands or resonates with your child. So this is definitely something that you want to take initiative on. It's definitely a conversation, multiple conversations that you want to hold with your little ones. Okay, let's get into resources. Here are some family-friendly resources to make sure you are raising a child who understands digital citizenship and safety. The first resource is going to be Common Sense Media. They have a digital citizenship for kids section of their website. Common Sense Media offers short videos, games, and family guides that teach children how to stay safe online, protect their privacy, and to be kind digital citizens. Okay, because cyberbullying is an issue. It's a thing. And it is important that children understand that you cannot just hide behind the screen, but that your words have impacts even if they're typed out. The next resource is called PBS Kids. They have an internet safety and media literacy portion of their website. And this is really good too for younger children who are like on the iPad or like playing different apps and stuff like that. So PBS Kids uses familiar characters and playful scenarios to teach children about online safety, respectful communication, and screen time balance. Interactive games and videos help children practice making smart digital choices. The third resource I am going to share today is called Brain Pop Junior. They have an online safety and digital behavior part of their website. Now, Brain Pop Junior provides animated lessons that explain internet safety concepts like passwords, personal information, and cyber kindness in clear, simple language. And I really feel like the quizzes and the activities help you to figure out whether or not your child is ready to be online in any way, whether or not they should have an iPad unmonitored or unsupervised. Because if they can't answer basic questions like whether or not it's okay to give your name if somebody asks in a chat box, or to just click on random pop-ups, and they are not ready. So the next resource is NetSmarts, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. NetSmarts offers age-appropriate videos, songs, and interactive activities that help children recognize unsafe online behavior and know when to ask for help. which is important because so often children get in a bind and they don't know how to get out. I was just reading an article of a boy who thought that he was in a relationship with this AI chat box and ultimately ended up committing suicide because of the torture he was experiencing. And so it is very important that children have a safe person to go to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about, or this is what happened, or this is what this person said. Is that okay? And then the last resource I'm going to share for now, if you want more, you already know where to find the goodies. Go to my website, scroll to the bottom, and give me your email address so that I can add you to the newsletter. But the last resource that I'm going to share for now is called Google Be Internet Awesome. And this is a good one. This is by Google, which I feel like they should definitely have something given who they are. But this interactive platform teaches children how to stay safe online through games, storytelling, and practice scenarios. Children learn about privacy scams and respectful online behavior while playing, making learning stick and ultimately resonate with them. Okay. Now let's talk about some best practices at home. The first best practice is, why does your child have a phone? They're 8 years old. They're 7 years old. What is the point of them having a phone? I would say the first best practice is having a family computer somewhere that is public, that you can walk past and see no problem, so that if they need it for homework purposes or education purposes, it is accessible. But to me, unless that child is at an age to where they're going to an after school program on their own, or they need to be able to call to communicate with you, they do not need a phone. We have normalized something that is not normal, and that is children walking around like this all day long with their eyes glued to the screen. I say we bring back house phones. I say we put a desktop computer in the living room or in some sort of office area that is public. And I say that we try to get our children to interact more with the world around them. And this covers multiple things. One is definitely safety. The second is phone addiction is real. There are people who cannot go more than 2 minutes without looking at their phone. There are people who are caught up hours after hours after hours scrolling on social media. And so for now, them being a child, allow them to be a child, allow them to explore the things around them. And I just don't feel like it's necessary. I feel like there's too many other ways to communicate in a way that is safe. The second is, if they have a phone, check their phone. I am under the strong belief that if it is a child, you should be looking at their phone. You should be knowing the people they're talking to. You should know who's calling. And this is the difference between an invasion of privacy and keeping them safe. Because if you are 8 years old, there is nobody who should be calling you or texting you that I should not be aware of. It's that simple. If you're 8 years old, there's no pictures you should be taking that I should not be allowed to see. There is no reason for you to have a social media account. And I know that there are accounts where the parents monitor. That's fine. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to literal 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds who have their own social media pages, who have changed the dates to be able to sign up, and who post themselves, which is why the camera angle is so weird. It's not necessary. Allow children to be children. The other thing when it comes to social media is that is where so much self-esteem goes to die. You get on social media, and within a matter of minutes, you are bombarded with campaigns that are trying to convince you that everything is wrong with you, that you need to get this surgery and this makeup and this lip filler, and that list just continues. You need to lose this much weight. And children, their brain is in the process of developing. They're figuring it out. And now they're being bombarded with all the people that have more than them and are doing better than them and look better than them. That's a lot. It's a lot to manage. I'm a strong believer that part of the reason why our suicide rate is so ridiculously high for young people is social media. I see it with kids walking through the school and pointing out what a person is wearing and what a person has and what they want and how they look. And it was bad when I was a child and we didn't have social media. And now you get to be consistently bombarded. So protect your child. Protect your child, protect their feelings. Make sure that their self-esteem is solid before you even open that door, and just be mindful. The next best practice is to keep your child safe, in the sense that you do not need to share their entire life online. Now, I have videos of my daughter online. They are very general. Be mindful. Be mindful of how much information you're sharing. Be mindful of what it would feel like being a child and having the world know this information about you. Be mindful. I feel like we're way too loose with how much we're willing to share about our children. And I feel like it's super unfair to them, because now you're older and the whole world knows your life experiences. They know your childhood from the perspective of somebody who shouldn't have been sharing it. So it's not even like you're sharing your own story. There's a lot of pain there. And so I would say, when it comes to posting your child, think about 30 years from now. Ask yourself, 30 years from now, would this still be okay? The answer is yes. Great. Ask yourself, if anybody walking past me were to see this video, would I be okay? Yes. Ask yourself, if the child is fully clothed, if there's any part of their body that is exposed. Photos and videos of kids in bathtubs, and photos and videos of them running around. I don't even believe in kids running around in a diaper online, because I feel like we owe them a level of safety. And you might say, well, what about pamper commercials? If the baby is a model, great for your family. But the majority of people who are on YouTube making everybody laugh are not pamper diaper commercials. It's home video. Sharing super intimate and personal moments with the world. And it wasn't yours to share. So I just feel like we too easily have normalized sharing everything about our children. And not only is it not safe, it's pretty painful when that child grows up to realize that everybody knows who they are and what they've done and what their interests are and their pain. Because the other part of this too that I'm seeing on social media is a lot of parents sharing humiliation of their child. So their child has gotten in trouble for something. I think the latest one that I saw that really broke my heart was this mother took all this time to wrap these gifts, and inside the gifts were coal. Inside the boxes were literal coal. And the boy is ripping open the presents, and box after box, he's getting trash, and he's just crying. And it's something like, well, you shouldn't have acted up all year. You shouldn't have These are not, first of all, that parenting technique is not it. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of money. For what? What did you solve? It did not do what you thought it was going to do. Instead, it built the resentment and the frustration between you and your child. So that's the first issue. We got to come back to some parenting practices, which week 52, I have a bunch of them. I am closing out with every tip and trick I can possibly think of. But that's the first thing. But the next thing is, now this humiliation gets to be seen worldwide forever. The world gets to experience one of the most painful moments for me, regardless of his behavior. And I want you to think about what the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you is. Think about it. Now imagine it on a big screen. Imagine everybody knowing about it, because that's what just took place. And if you don't want your child to be a cyberbully, you should probably start first. If you want them to be mindful about the things that they say about people, you should probably take lead. You don't want them posting anything, you probably shouldn't be posting anything. We have higher expectations from our children than we do for ourselves, and that has to change. Let's keep growing. The next best practice is for children who are on the internet for whatever reason to understand that people lie. And I think that children understand that people lie in real life. I think when it comes to online, because there is such a facade, because it is so easy to create a profile and a specific picture and, say that you're interested in the same cartoons that they're interested in, that it is easy to be deceived. And so I would explain that you do not know who you're talking to. There are so many apps nowadays, and it's just so easy for children and elders to be manipulated. And with that being said, I would also explain that there is literally nobody you need to be talking to online. Doesn't exist. Your Aunt Pam messaged you on Facebook, you can call her. You miss your aunt so much, pick up the phone. There is no person as a child that you need to just be communicating with online. It's not necessary. So I feel like so many of these best practices are avoiding. Avoidance is powerful. Children are young, their brains are developing, they're figuring things out. If that child is not 15 years old, they don't need a phone. 14 maybe. And if they do have a phone, let's say they're 11, 12, whatever, and let's say they do have a phone, it needs to be monitored and it needs to be looked at. And the last best practice for now is to utilize child lock features. There are things now on the iPad and the phone. They take a little bit of time to set up and they cost so much per month because everything has a subscription now. But they will block certain things from being able to pop up. They will block websites that you don't want your child on or searching for, or apps that you don't want them using. Please do this before you hand over something like a phone to a child. When to seek help, I would say if you notice that your child is unwilling to do anything outside of their phone and their computer and their tablet, if you notice that everything right now is screen time, if they're acting in a way that is very abrasive when you try to remove it, it might be time for some intervention and some support services if you feel like you can no longer control the situation. If they're so angry at you for going through their phone or looking at their messages or what have you. And of course, this is going to vary on the age, but overall, in my opinion, as long as it's a child, they should not be sharing anything that you could not see, in the sense, right? Because we're not talking about a journal. You can write whatever you need to in your journal, but in a phone, there is a danger there for me to not fully understand what is going on. And so if your child gets to a point to where they're lashing out at you and they're angry and it feels like this phone or these devices have, like this hold on them, then you might need some additional support and some resources around parenting, around discipline, around making sure mentally your child is okay, and just ensuring that they're getting the support that they need, because they still need to be safe. Common questions. My child says, but my friends all have TikTok. What do I say? Love that for them. And your friends get to have whatever their parents are comfortable with. But you don't have a TikTok, because I don't feel like you're old enough to have a TikTok. The issue with TikTok, as well as so many other apps, regardless of the controls that are within the app, is you have no idea what is coming across that screen. I don't even let my daughter watch movies that I have not viewed first, because once they see it, they cannot unsee it. So just because your friends have TikTok does not mean that I'm comfortable with you having TikTok. Does not mean that I'm comfortable with you having social media. This is where parenting comes in. This is where, in that moment, your child might not feel like you're their friend and just their parent. And that's okay, because it will pass. But we have to keep these babies safe. Next question, which I have addressed: should I read my child's messages or monitor everything they do? And to this, I say transparency is key. I would let children know that their devices are being monitored, that I am looking at stuff, to please not share anything that you would not want me to read, because I do see your phone and I am able to see what it is that you're saying. And I think that part is important, because for me, that's the difference between feeling like I'm being spied on and understanding the parameters in which having a device I have to follow. Right? Those are two different things. So I was just watching Unknown Number, the high school catfish story. And in this documentary, this girl and this boy are being tortured and grossly mistreated. And I could not understand why she still had a phone, because my first thought was stop the messages from being able to access the people who are being victimized. And so if your child is in a situation of being cyberbullied or digitally tortured, we're going to stop. We're going to cease communication. We're going to cut it until we figure out what it is that's going on. Because I think too often that we expect our children to just be strong and it's no big deal and they just can't need to power through it. But being cyberbullied is real, and it definitely has and holds very real impacts. Thank you so much for learning with me, for growing with me, and for being part of this book loving community. I hope that you learned something about how to keep your child safe. It's not about paranoia or fear, but it is about making sure that they are mentally and physically okay. Thank you again for being here. Be sure to check out my children's books, as well as the Empathy Library, which is a pay it forward initiative to get books to children in need on purpose. See, that's the problem. It is them phones. The problem is them phones. Get them a book and they'll be okay. Okay. Now, until next time, you remember to enjoy the moment or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.